Well, how you doing, folks? Guess what? Another video. I've really gone nuts with the videos lately. Not really. I'm just having a bit of fun. I got this Peavey Classic 30. I've actually had one of these amps before, but they're so cool. I had to buy another one. I mean, I'm really a Fender man. I do like the Fender amps. I've got a number of Fender amps, but the beauty about these Classic 30s is they're light. It weighs 14.6 kilos, and they've got a really nice spring reverb, and of course they sound amazing, really. I just thought I'd use my US Fender Stratocaster that I use just to have that as my yardstick for the sound of amps. But just very sweet tone. It uses, of course, 4 EL84s and 3 preamp tubes, 12AX7s. I think 2 preamps, and the other one is the power driver or something like that. But I'm a little bit confused on whether the spring reverb is tube powered. I think it is, because I've done a little bit of research, and it doesn't sound as washed out as my DeVille or my Blues Deluxe. I've got a 112 Blues Deluxe and a 410 DeVille. That's a nice amp though, the DeVille. And of course it's not a twin or anything. And I don't use the overdriven sound, but if I was to, let's put the preamp right up. So that's a rockabilly player playing Van Halen. Oh yeah, I used to do a lot of stuff in the early days, not just the rockabilly stuff, which I love. Yeah, so it really does lend to that nice crunchy. You can do the blues with it, of course. You can actually maybe cut it back a little bit on the preamp and the post up a little. So it breaks up nicely. It can do the blues very well. Punk. Something like that. Been a while since I've done all that. yeah, so it does all the crunchy stuff nicely, but obviously that's not me. This is me. Okay, I'm just going to take the reverb up to about 2 o'clock, so it's a little bit more saturated. So it's got a really nice, well, it has basically that Fender sound, even though it's got the EL84s. Should give it a more British sound, but it just doesn't. It lends itself to more of the American. Now the beauty about this amp as well, I don't know if it's the beauty, but it doesn't have a bright switch, which in itself you would think is a disadvantage. But I found that I tend to use a bright switch a lot in my playing, and sometimes if there isn't one and I'm not using it, it can add a little bit, well, just a different tone to your guitar. So the guitars, all the guitars I use are all single coils, so they already are nice and bright. You know, the very first time, I don't know if I've told you this story, but the very first time when I was learning to play the guitar, obviously you want an electric guitar, but I was a Shadows freak when I was in my teens, and the electric guitar that I bought was a Les Paul. It was an Ibanez Les Paul, mid-70s, with a bolt-on neck. But it was a great guitar, but you know what, it just clean, I just thought it was my playing that was no good. And then I went to upgrade the guitar. I was going to buy myself an Ibanez, I think it was the studio model, but it was around the time they had the Ibanez Musician, the Artist, the Studio, and the studio model and the Musician. They looked fantastic. They were just so well made. But of course they had humbucking pickups. They had a single coil switch, but you know, at the last minute I decided to buy another copy. I bought an Ibanez Silver Series Stratocaster, so it was still a copy of a Fender. It was white with a maple neck, and I you know, I saved a bit of money too because it was less, but I traded in the Ibanez Les Paul. As soon as I got to my band rehearsal the next day, I think it was, and plugged my Strat straight into the amp and played with the guys, it was like chalk and cheese. It was like, oh hell, what have I been missing out on, you know? It was the Stratocaster, you know, so these guitars, I mean, you can do whatever, you can do anything with these guitars. I love the Strat. Regrettably, I don't use it with my band. I don't use any Fender Stratocasters with my rockabilly band. I use a custom Telecaster, which is a great guitar too, and I use my arch tops with fake P90s. They're actually Dynasonics. I'll just show you what I mean. There's my Gibson. If you have a look at that, I don't know if it's going to come up, but they look like P90s, but they're not. They're you can see I've cut out the P90 covers and stuck some wild Gretsch Dynasonics in there. When you want twang, don't believe anything. If you want some rockabilly twang, you know, you've got to have the Dynasonic single coils. There's just no question whatsoever. I know Brian Setzer uses the Fieldertrons, you know, and they sound great too, clean, but he uses a little bit of drive on his guitar. But, well, you know, all the great players, you know, even Scotty Moore, I think he used the P90s, they were single coils. Chris Gallup, Gene Vincent, Carl Perkins. You know, that was a Les Paul, of course, but it was powered by P90s. And then, you know, use the Telecaster a lot too. But anyway, back to the amp. We digress. You know, around $600 Australian. I've seen them in America for as cheap as $350, but bloody hell, you get a lot of amp for that money. You know, I mean, that's $600, and then you've got this amp that weighs twice as much. Well, not twice as much. That weighs 26 kilos. That weighs 14.6, so 12 kilos more. What's that? A box of tomatoes and a 2 kilo bag of carrots extra. You know, so for the money, you've got a really nice tube amp. Anyone that wants to get into a tube amp cheaply, and look, you know, I'm not going to rubbish Fenders because I love Fender amps, but I would have this over any Fender Blues Junior or the Blues Deluxe. The Blues Deluxe is the 112 40 watt. They're good amps. I mean, the Blues Junior, and I forget what the other one's called. It's just escaped my memory. But it's got the 10-inch speaker. It comes with a 12-inch speaker too. But 15 watts just isn't enough to get you over the line, you know, to be a versatile amp. This at 30 watts, you're going to be able to play this in a gigging situation. You're going to be able to use this in a studio, not a problem, you know. These things don't jump out of the ground. Like the Fender Blues Deluxe, they've got a 40 watt 112, and you know, you know the problems with those between between 0 and 1. They, you know, it's like it goes from no volume to 100% volume. So in a studio, it's really hard to get some good tone out of those unless you move the condenser mics if you're using those to mic up further away from the amp, or if you're using an SM57, you know, pull the mic a little bit away from the amps, just depending on the tone that you want. The tone that I like is the very clean, you know, nice. So that's going to give you that really nice, you know, rockabilly tone, you know. So, you know, so these are going to cut the cheese on a number of different levels, okay. And it's a classic 30. I'm sure you've seen. I'm sure you've heard of them. Do you need to buy one? I've seen a lot of these being demonstrated on YouTube, and God bless all those players. But when you're doing an amp, play it clean for God's sakes, because otherwise, you know, how's anybody going to know how it really sounds? You know, that's your amp. That's the basis for anything you're going to add on top. See if I can do this. Been a while. I really should put some overdrive on that, but anyway, there you go. So classic 30. If you find one, like I always say, buy it. All right, you take care. See you soon. Bye bye now.